Good morning. This is one of what I hope to be many opportunities to do monthly training, weekly training without having to burden schedules, ask more of you than what you are already doing. I've already started getting some emails of some of you who are going to be at Glow Games and are going to be coming to the retreat. And so those are the things I would rather you schedule rather than other training sessions or meetings. And so to take the place of that, you're going to get these videos, like I said, sometimes weekly, most of the time monthly. A lot of times it's going to depend on what you're giving Bailey and Stephen as they text you out each week of things you could use or challenges you're finding in your small groups. Sometimes they're going to be based upon. It was great this past Wednesday, this hour between middle school and high school. I get to visit with parents for the first 30 minutes, and then I get to come visit with you as small group leaders as you're being let out of your small groups and heading to your cars. And so I'm going to try to find as many of you each week as I can and ask, how's it going? Be honest with me, truthful. And then, of course, some of it's just going to be from things I've observed on Wednesday night. And so all of which are opportunities for me to write things down and give you practical nuggets, constantly giving you practical nuggets to help you in what you're doing as a small group leader. And as we have said many, many times before, we want to pour as much time, effort, energy into our small groups and our leadership in those small groups as we possibly can. So you are valued and loved more than you could ever know. And so I hope these videos are a way that you see that in a small way of extending more training, more practical nuggets your way. So this week for you as middle school small group leaders, what I wanted to give you is two main things and then a side note. So the two main things, the first being the hangout time at the beginning. And one of the things that I heard and observed was, what do we do? What is this time for? And the word I want to give you is intentionality. It's how intentional you are in that time with your students in your small group is what's going to make that time mean something to you. I saw some of our groups kind of crossing with each other, and two groups of boys playing basketball, and I saw some groups of girls doing some things together. And I don't think that's necessarily wrong or bad, or even especially during the 5:30 to 6:45 period. And maybe even once a month, you do it for the whole time. I think it's good. It crosses relationships over between small groups. But I do think if nothing else, during that 5:45 to 6, preferably 5:30 to 6, you've built a rhythm within your group to get there at that time, and you get 30 minutes to hang out. You get 30 minutes to play non-square, gaga ball, basketball, Pictionary, charades on the balcony. But it could also be a time one week you just want to bring ice cream and some Coke and root beer and do some floats and sit around on some comfy furniture and share a story of when you were in middle school. And funny stories from the past week, top 3 funny stories. And everyone shares a story. And whatever it may be, but intentionality and being creative. You have a building, you have outside. You can bring things here with you. I saw some bring games with them. And so what I would say is intentionality during that time is what's going to be key. The second thing I want to give you is at the end. Then you go to the very end of the night, and some of you are asking questions about the small group time. And even questions of, like, what do you really want us to get done during that time? And so I want to just kind of walk you through the mindset of what happens in a night during middle school. And so we start with Hangout. This is kind of the icebreaker, so we don't have to do an icebreaker. That by the time they get up, we can jump straight into, like we did last week, a crazy announcement with a game that you're probably not going to get students to do right out of the gate. But since they've had 30 minutes to get warmed up and ice break, they're more willing to do it. And then you head into a teaching time, so they're going to hear the word. Then they're going to respond to it. And so God's already going to be churning and working on maybe even just one thing they heard during the lesson. And then they're going to jump into small group, and they need someone to help guide them, direct them towards what does this have to do with my life. And so your primary purpose as small group leaders at the end of the night is prodding questions, which we give you several of them to choose from, and transitional thoughts. So you're going to prod with questions, let them talk. You see the discussion going a certain way, then prod, then give that transitional thought to transition it to maybe where you want the plane to land. It's very different than leading a Bible study. I would say small group leaders for 25 minutes need to get a really good understanding that less of you is better. Everything you and your co-leaders do is very purposeful. Every statement you say, every question you ask, which leads to two other things. One being, it's not a classroom. It's not. If it's too structured, if it's, we've got to get through this, if it's, no, that's not on topic, if, yeah, that's a good question, maybe we could get there, but we got to get to this, you're going to lose students. The structure has to be on the student. The student sets the tone of where you go, which means if your students aren't focusing, you might need to get up, go outside, grab a football, throw a football around, and ask questions. And every time they catch a football, they have to answer the question. You might have to get creative with what this looks like. And the other thing I'd say is breathe and know you don't have to get through every question. You don't have to get through the whole worksheet, the whole thing on your app. You don't. And you don't have to reteach the lesson. They've already heard it. They've already responded to it. You just have to ask prodding questions and then give transitional thoughts. The note I want to give you is on responsive worship. And I know it was thrown at you last minute, and it was really added last minute because it was something God was kind of turning to my heart to have students respond to that statement. But they're always going to respond with worship. And we might kick off the night with crazy worship songs down the road as we get there, but most of our worship is going to be responsive to the lesson. And so what that means is moments where we have them act and they're interacting with you as small group leaders. Once again, don't act like the teacher. Don't come pick their homework assignment up from them. When I have them come to you, I want them to get out of their chairs and come to you. Read their thing to you. It's a good chance for you to pray with them for a second and thank them for being honest. And if you see a student really struggling, go to that student, sit with them, say, hey, let me help you. What are you thinking? And help them write things down. It is another opportunity. I think the quicker that you as small group leaders grab a hold of, we're just throwing opportunities at you all night, that if you can grab every one of those, you're going to see that your small group is not just about the last 25 minutes. It's not just about hoping God does something super spiritual in the last 25 minutes. No, God is doing something from the moment they come to the moment they leave you. It reminds me of this Thessalonians passage, 1 Thessalonians 2:8. It says, so being affectionately desirous of you, we were ready to share with you, listen, not only the gospel, not only words of God, but also our own selves, the playful side of ourselves, the serious side of ourselves, the emotional side of ourselves, because you have become very dear to us. When these students become dear to you, and that will take time, all of a sudden you want to share in every minute you have on a Wednesday night with them. So don't forget. Don't forget. Be intentional with your first 30 minutes. Ask prodding questions and have transitional thoughts, not a classroom in your last 30 minutes. And throughout the rest of the night, realize every minute is an opportunity to share your life with these students. All right, well, I love you dearly. Praying for you for this Wednesday. We'll see you then.